Mountainhead is the new project from Jesse Armstrong, creator, writer, kind of showrunner behind Succession on HBO. They did 4 seasons of that show, got nominated for a ton of Emmys. It is a great watch, would highly recommend. And Mountainhead feels like it comes right out of the world of Succession. It might as well be a spinoff. It could take place in the same world and totally work great. Mountainhead is the story of four I'm going to say really obnoxious billionaires. And they don't start obnoxious, but as the film goes on, you begin to learn more about them. Can't be too surprised. Who all meet at this annual retreat up in Utah at this wonderful house called Mountainhead. It's almost like a ski lodge that one of them owns, to hang out and reset their minds for the future. And while they're there, they get on their phones and they start seeing the news and start realizing that things are truly going wrong in the world, almost immediately so, due to the launch of one of their app's new features. And when the world is changing rapidly, what are these 4 technocrats to do but maybe jump in and change things themselves for the worse? The movie stars Steve Carell as Randall, our first of 4 billionaires, who is the old money billionaire. He's like in his late 50s, 60s. He's got gray hair, looks great, but he's older for sure. And actually, at the beginning of the film, has recently received a negative health diagnosis, one of a few from a few different doctors, but he doesn't believe it. He says, look, I think you guys can fix me. Science can make it happen. We're gonna find a cure. You've got Jason Schwartzman, who plays Hugo, who everybody refers to in the group as Super, who owns Mountainhead, this place in Utah, but is not quite a billionaire. There's a great scene early in the film where they all establish how much money each of them is worth, and he is in the 500 million category. Not quite there, but he hosts every year, and he does things for these guys, and they all kind of bring him along because, well, he's super, and he's great, and maybe some of them see him as a friend, but maybe others see him as functionally a server, right? Some kind of service for them. But he is trying to get his app launched called Slozo, which is a lifestyle super app, they call it in the movie, which is really just a lame meditation app. And the other 3 billionaires all know it. He's hoping he can get an investment from one of them. Corey Michael Smith plays Venice, who is, Venice is his name. Who is functionally our stand-in for somebody like Elon Musk. He's like in his 30s, 40s. He has this huge app named Trammer, I think it's called, which is a lot like Twitter. And just at the beginning of the movie, their app has launched this all-new deepfake AI service that can make fake footage out of anything, which is creating problems all around the world. In Argentina, there's now a revolution, and in France, people are protesting because they saw this footage of this thing that wasn't real, and nobody can figure out what's real and what's not on the internet anymore. And Venice is kind of the center of that whole thing. And as the richest billionaire at $225 billion, he's easily the most successful out of all of them and has the most influence on the world, but also is kind of the reason it's all going belly up and just refuses to see it. And lastly, there's Jeff, played by Ramy Youssef, young comedian, who is it's seemingly our heart and soul of the movie. He is the youngest billionaire whose AI platform is up and coming. He is rapidly approaching Steve Carell's Randall's wealth, but he isn't quite there yet. He's got more money than Super for sure, but he might just go somewhere one day until, following Venice's app launch, he starts to gain a lot of value over the weekend, and that starts to dynamically change the relationship. The 4 of them are all awful. They're all vapid and terrible, just like our characters in Succession, and this is the setup for what turns out to be a comedy, where these 4 billionaires all arrive at this place and are all talking out their asses about how the world should be run, and really, none of them has any great idea. They're all super selfish, and as the weekend goes on, they begin to devolve into horribly petty personal politics that have so little to do with the world around them, but may have great influence simply because the amount of money and resources that these 4 men control. It's a lot like Succession. It is very similar to it. And as a Succession fan, I enjoyed Mountainhead. I thought it was really clever. But I'm looking forward to talking about how it's shot, the tone of it, and most importantly, if somebody who doesn't know Succession is into this. So with that, Andy, what did you think of Mountainhead?
So originally, I wasn't really too interested in seeing this movie because I just thought it felt really out of touch. But I was actually glad that we watched it because our characters are so different and they represent different types of people in the real world. Venice is kind of a mixture of tech moguls. It's like he's a mixture of Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, even, and they both, and while they're all kind of high on their own supply, Ramy Youssef is actually kind of the most grounded person. He keeps pointing out, he's like, hey, your app is actually causing all this destruction, there's all this violence, should we do something about it? He's kind of the most conscious of these, and it is a good balance to them. I feel like the bit goes on a little bit too long. I was with it for like 3/4 of the way, and then in like the last 20 minutes I was struggling. I was like, all right, let's wrap this up, because it is a little bit like it is a bottle film, and it's a little bit like a play, because it's just four guys talking in rooms. But I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, it's a shame. It seems like the stakes are going to get much higher in Mountainhead than they actually do. There's a turn in Act 2 that makes it seem like violence is very immediately on the table for the group, and then they kind of don't actually get to where it seems like it might. And it's a shame, because when you present a sort of Chekhov's gun to your audience, it seems like, oh boy, something cool is going to happen here. And then it doesn't. And it's not, the comedy of that comes from the fact, not that they are not capable of committing violence, but that they're all so selfish and small and soft in reality that when they're not surrounded by sycophants and an army of yes men and yes women who'll do whatever they want, these four billionaires have no real relationships in their lives. Any of them. Like Jeff, Ramy Youssef's character, who's supposed to be, like you said, kind of our soft emotional core. He's the one who's like, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't be telling the president to go after themselves, and maybe we shouldn't be playing global politics here. He also like has a girlfriend who he like can't look in the eye and like can't talk to and have a real relationship with, even though he's so obviously should be capable of talking to another person. He can do deals, he can do business negotiation to billions of dollars, but when it comes to like having a real relationship, the only people he can really hang out with is his three other friends here, who are really kind of rivals and really only relate to him because of the amount of money and influence they have. Meanwhile, like Venice, played by Corey Michael Smith, who's really brilliant in this movie, he has a son, it's revealed part of the way through the movie. In no way is he a father. Like, nothing about him says that this man's a father figure. And then you actually get this kid, they bring this baby out to him, and he's like outside in his bathrobe, doesn't invite him in. Oh yeah, let me hold him for a second, like puts him on the concrete and watch him play around. The other guys are like, this is awful. Like, none of them have any real relationships in their lives. Like, and this makes all of them incredibly insecure and incredibly narcissistic. This is the kind of thing that I really liked about Succession. Like, the way that Armstrong manages to write these characters is like so truly lacking, despite the fact that they have every resource available to them. And when things start to go wrong at the cabin, like bad news coming out of foreign countries that they're all watching on Twitter, or like the water not working anymore for some reason, and one of them going, well, maybe it's a plot by the Canadian government and we gotta get out of here, like that all creates like a bit of a boiler pot for these four people who are basically just man children, like walking around, like to have to try to figure out what's next and what they're going to do. And it starts fun. It starts with like, oh, maybe I'll place a call to the power company in Argentina and start rolling blackouts, right? And that might influence this. And it starts coming around to like, hey, we should start a coup to overthrow the U.S. Like, that'd be awesome, right? Like, who could run logistics on this? Can we get a model for this? Can we map this out? That's the stuff I enjoyed so much about Succession. That makes this very enjoyable for me. For like the virgin viewer though, dude, who hasn't seen any of that, I think that all flies right over people's heads and they just miss it. And this all seems lame and corporate speak and doesn't work.
I think it works for the first half, but it worked the most for the first half for me, because that's when those things are happening where it's like, oh, there's a coup happening in this country, or all these states are failing, and they're like, well, maybe we should overthrow the U.S. Like, that stuff is really interesting, and then I think it just kind of runs out of steam towards the end. But what you were saying about how the characters are so kind of lacking and insecure, I think is really brilliant. Particularly Corey Michael Smith, who we previously saw in Saturday Night, and also a small role in May December. He's so perfect as this like bravado jackass character who's so overconfident but so obviously insecure in everything, that he's just overcompensating the entire time. And it's like there's a lot of real life people that you could see being this way, but he is so pitch perfect for that role.
Yeah, it's no coincidence that like 3 out of these 4, and I'm only speaking of Corey Michael Smith because I don't know his work more outside of film, but like 3 of these guys have heavy backgrounds in comedy. Like, because that's a lot of what's going on here. Like, it presents like a drama, especially the trailer. It's a lot of like big music and like stings and like the stakes have never been higher. And then you actually watch it, and it's like it's a lot more like Doctor Strangelove. It's like these 4 guys who are all in this
Yeah.
like bunker away from everybody, just speculating about how they couldn't run the world, and almost every idea is bad and dumb. But nobody's going to tell them no because they're billionaires, and that's how it works, right? I want to talk about the way this is shot really quickly. That's important. This was a fast shoot. They shot this in 10 days. Real fast turnaround. And I think they shot it in 10 days because it's shot much like Succession, which is what Jesse Armstrong knows. I think it's roaming camera people, like 3 or 4 cameras, roaming around a room where the actors are playing out the scene almost like a play, usually in full. They do 3 or 4 takes of that. Like the camera people are free to crash zoom or pan or move however they feel like is necessary in the scene, whatever flows organically. And then they cut that together. Like, that's your scene. And it works real good in Succession. Like they were nominated for a couple Emmys for it. Like people praise kind of like its innovative presentation, but it's not very theatrical. And this works on HBO, watching on a small screen. But if I was watching this in a theater, I feel like I would have just felt like it's just a Succession movie, which is great if you're a Succession head. But like, again, like this is supposed to be outside of that space. This is like, imagine this is a feature film. This is Jesse Armstrong's first feature. Like that's what this is. So the fact that it borrows so much from his previous work, I don't want to say it hurts it, but it's a bit of a shame. It's not the whole thing, especially later in the movie. Like the last few scenes, they're almost all locked down tripod, which I think was specific and implicit and important because it shows a sort of like settling from like this handheld look that we have the whole time, like a bit of a denouement, what am I trying to say? Resolution, I guess, visually, like in our cinematography. But I would like to see more of that. Like, let's get a little bit more, I don't know, maybe work with a different crew or something. Like, again, if you're a Succession head, it's great. If you're not a Succession head, I don't know. I don't know if it does it for you.
And see, actually, for me, I think because I didn't watch, I watched like 2 episodes of Succession, but because I'm not as familiar with that show, I think it is new and different for me because I'm not as familiar with the show. So like I said, it was working for me for a large majority of it. I think it just goes on too long. It's nearly 2 hours, and I think it's more of a 90-minute idea. Just needs to be a little bit tighter, especially in the end. But it was promising, I think.
Yeah, I think it's maybe a black comedy. I was trying to decide whether or not it was, because ultimately the themes that they're talking about, the reason the world is crumbling, is wildly dour and feels very apt. Like these guys are all talking about deepfakes and AI, which is a problem everybody is thinking about, right? They're all on their phones, on the equivalent of like Twitter and Facebook. And these are fundamentally the companies these guys run. I mean, they even have like CNN in here, right? Like they have CNN news chyrons and stuff running news. Like it's very grounded in a reality we're all familiar with, just like Succession. But the way these people act in that setting, what seems like such a boiler pot, is what makes for your entertainment and your viewing pleasure. Like that's what Jesse Armstrong is trying to nail, I think, with this stuff, is that these guys are human just like everybody else. And despite the fact that they have overblown egos and they have convinced themselves that like they are ultimately the purveyors of like the future and what's to come next, they're not. They're all struggling. They're all suffering. In the case of Steve Carell's character, he is literally diagnosed with an illness that there doesn't seem to be a cure for. He is on borrowed time. So like this idea that the 4 of them get together and have this little retreat at the beginning of the film seems so surface. And by the end of it, you realize like these are the only real connections these guys have. It's like the Breakfast Club. Like you're never going to have better friends than this. You know what I mean? Like what an odd thing to try to tackle in 90 minutes, but I enjoyed it. I thought Mountainhead was cool. I'm glad it didn't come to theaters. I'm glad it was a straight to streaming, I think, because it's not particularly theatrical. But with all that said, Andy, I got to know, would you recommend Mountainhead?
Yeah, I think overall I would. It's an interesting premise, and I think our performances are really strong. I think the bit just goes on a little bit too long. I think if it were 10, 15 minutes shorter, it would be a little bit stronger of a film. It's taking on a lot of very contemporary things about AI and deep fakes and the role of technology in society and government and all those things. It's a funny, easy time. Again, if you've seen Succession and you're into that style of comedy, I think you probably enjoy it as well. So I say it's on streaming, it's on Max. So check it out if you think that that's your thing.
Yeah, I'd recommend it to a particular audience. If you're somebody who went for Succession or something a little elevated like The Big Short or like Margin Call, you'd probably like this. It is particularly timely, and he kind of nailed it with like in the way it feels like a bottle feature. It feels like a pandemic movie, and we watched a few movies through the pandemic, and it feels like that particularly because it's a small setting and it's very timely subject. Like these are things that people are thinking about often, like these kind of ideas of self-destruction through technology. So like it's cool that that's something that this tackles. Can be maybe a little bit overwhelming, especially in the first bit. I was like, dude, this is heavy stuff, but I liked where it ends up getting. I enjoyed it, and yeah, as somebody who enjoyed Succession, I'd say this is a absolute watch. And if you've never seen Succession, give it a shot. Try it out. See what you think. Just keep in mind that it's meant to be laughed at. That these people are not meant to be heroes. That they are meant to be a joke, and that's kind of the approach that you should be coming at them with. And I think it makes for a better time, even if sometimes they end up being more villainous than not.